Hi everyone, and welcome to another FPL Hints Live on Twitter Spaces and YouTube on a dual stream. Now, for the most optimal experience, hop onto the YouTube stream as you can then see my screen. The link is shared at the top of the space. For those that are on Twitter, I'll answer questions at the end and you can DM them, reply in the YouTube chat, or just chuck them um, on Twitter there. But before we begin, if you can retweet the space and subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be greatly appreciated. So, as always, I speak my own mind, I say what I want, and I provide unfiltered hints. And if you've not tuned in before and you don't know who I am, where have you been? I'm an Elite 1000 manager with 4 top 5k ranks in FPL with a best finish of 110th. And in today's space, I'm going to talk about my own team and how it's fared this season. I'll do a bit of captaincy analysis. I'll do an Elite 1000 review of trends and just quantifying how the Elite 1000 have done in this early stage of the season. I'll look at the value add stats as well at a per million basis. I'll look at the world number ones team as well, and also the live Elite 1000 table, as well as some additional stats at the end. So without further ado, let's get started. So as you can see there, that's how my team has done so far in this early stage of the season. And yeah, it's been a steady start. I've had some significant progress early on. If you'd given me a top 1 million rank at this stage, I would have taken it, to be perfectly frank with you. And compared to last 2 seasons where I managed to get top 50k, it's not it's not in the same um like it's the same situation, but primarily because the template has been so strong in this early stage of the season, especially when prices are so low and you can just buy whoever you want essentially. So I can see why the rank has been lower, despite having a reasonable start. But at the same time, to be even be ranked with 100k at this early stage when people who are ranked above you, more or less used a lot of their chips, I'm fairly content with that. What I'm going to do actually, I'm going to go straight into the Elite 1000 review because I feel that I talk, a fair amount about my team um, on Twitter anyway. But just one takeaway that I had was that I could have burned all my transfers in each of those game weeks, and I would have had an even higher rank. Sold Rashford, and then he banged. Sold Bailey, then he banged in game week 6. Not that I was going to start him against Man City, I guess, but it's because we've been able to afford the template so easily and so early on. It's almost as if we're struggling to make moves, and I feel that we're now at this stage of the season with these blanks that have obviously come up due to the reasons due to what took place last Thursday, that I feel that the template is in a state of flux, and this is a really good opportunity to make up lost ground and gain traction regardless of where you're ranked. And I feel that a new template has really emerged as well across multiple rank tiers, which I'll get onto. So if I switch my screen for a moment to the Elite 1000, so this is a bit fiddly. Just do it now on my Twitter stream. And for those in the chat, hi everyone. I can see people saying I've messed it up again. Yeah, my apologies. So I'll get better at it as I go along. So that's the live FPL League. I'm going to get this up. Just make sure it displays correctly on my Twitter stream. So yeah, I've got the live FPL.net Elite 1000 league up at the moment. And there's basically 3 trends that have really stuck out for me, especially in this early part of the season. Now, of those 3 trends, first one, I noticed that a lot of the Elite 1000 were very content on going 5-3-2 at the start of the season. So some of them doubled up with Cucurella and James. Some, mostly doubled up with Robbo and Trent Alexander-Arnold, and there's also some Man City double ups. Now, for those that went for the Chelsea double up, it didn't work. Liverpool double up clearly didn't work as well. The Man City one, I don't want to say that worked because I kind of feel that they probably conceded far more than they should have. But 3 clean sheets out of 6 for a Man City, they could have kept 4 or 5 quite easily, considering the opposition that they played. But it was obvious that because of the lower prices, a lot of the Elite 1000 just went for 5-3-2. 5-3-2 across multiple rank tiers seemed to be the go-to formation. And you know what? It wasn't, I don't want to say this word optimal. I know Analytics FC, I don't want to like encroach on their territory, but it wasn't the optimal formation. It really wasn't, because the clean sheets for those top teams didn't transition into fantasy points. Well, there weren't any clean sheets for a lot of them. So 5-3-2 didn't work. And another thing that really didn't work as well was perma-captain Mohamed Salah. Now, what I found quite remarkable, because for me, I don't have a blind loyalty for a player. I don't believe in player biases in FPL. Just because Mohamed Salah won your mini league last season, or the season before that, or the season before that, that's not a reason why you should continuously captain him in FPL. And for me, what I found quite remarkable was obviously Haaland in game week 1, he got that brace. I didn't expect him to get a brace. And he's just been an absolute sensation in the Premier League. And I think I captained him. I'll come on to my captaincy analysis if I can get that up. I captained him in one of those early game weeks as well. But look, it's clear that Mohamed Salah is playing for a Liverpool team that are going through a lot of transition. They're not the same team with Mane. They're not the same team without Mane. Salah's being shunted on the wing, and he's just playing in a different way to how we, expect him to play. So, for all intents and purposes, despite some people saying, "Oh, his underlying stats match what he did for the previous 2 seasons or whatever it was," he's not been the same player, and Haaland has outscored him comfortably. But what I find amazing is that, Haaland, he got the first hat trick, then he got the second hat trick. But despite Haaland, clearly showing his credentials, obviously the people are worried that, he might not get full matches, which he hasn't been. But the reality is that he's been sensational with the minutes that he's had, really, in the Premier League. I look at the first game, West Ham, 13 points. Not a lot of people captained him, and then got subbed off, and then he kind of went quiet against Bournemouth when a lot of people captained him, like myself. Newcastle away, 6 points, and then people are like, yeah, let's go for Mohamed Salah at this early stage. But then the Crystal Palace game, boom, hat trick. Nottingham Forest, boom, hat trick. And then the Aston Villa game, 9 points. It was that Nottingham Forest midweek match where there was fears of him whether he'd start or not, but I just went for it on an EO basis. I just thought to myself, you know what, if he doesn't start and it's a blank, well, a lot of people will captain him, it's fine. But I even if he had a cameo appearance, I would have taken it. And for me, it was about the fixture and it was about his form. I just couldn't ignore it. But what I found quite remarkable was a very large minority captain Mohamed Salah in that midweek game, and then scores a hat trick, and then it's the Aston Villa match, and 22.5% of the Elite 1000 still captain Mohamed Salah. It's almost like they have this stubbornness that they just expect him to deliver, and I kind of feel they've made a mistake, that perhaps a lot of them are so analytics driven that they're ignoring his form and they're just looking at the fixture, and they look at Mohamed Salah and they see, okay, Fulham, we all captained him, got lucky, 12 lucky points, if we're being perfectly honest. Palace game, blank. United away, lucky to get that goal at the end. Bournemouth, blank with 18 attacking fantasy returns and doesn't get anything. Newcastle game, okay, fair enough, 2 assists. And then you've got the Everton game, blank. So a lot of the Elite 1000 have been targeting Salah's fixtures, and they've just trusted him, and it just hasn't worked. I would say to a degree it's been unfortunate, but then you've got Haaland, and again I don't want to say with hindsight, oh, Haaland should have been the right pick. For me, it's not about laughing at someone or mocking someone with hindsight whether they're right or wrong, but it's about EO. And Haaland has 67 points after 6 game weeks, and Mohamed Salah has 38 points. It's literally double terms of points. And there's just a danger that if you just look at a certain subset, for those that are going by the eye test only, they would have stopped captaining Mohamed Salah early on. For those that are going by data, they would have still trusted him. And those that are going by EO, they would have gone with Mohamed Salah at the start, and then they would have gradually shifted to Haaland. And I guess the takeaway that I'm getting at is even among the Elite 1000, despite a significant stubbornness, that Mohamed Salah's perma-captain status, I was going to say it was under threat, but it's kind of shattered now, even among that upper echelon, despite 2 in 10 still captaining him in the final match. But there's been a shift where we saw last season Mohamed Salah was like the perma captain from game week 1 until game week 19. Well, that player is now Haaland. Haaland has stolen his crown, and it's subject to injury or any other reason that will prevent him from playing. I feel that he will be the perma captain, and I look at Haaland's fixtures as well: Wolves, United, Southampton, Liverpool, Arsenal. Okay, maybe for the Liverpool one, some might be reluctant, but if he's in form, I can't see why they wouldn't captain him. Arsenal, Brighton, Leicester, Fulham, Brentford, Leeds, Everton. You could just leave the captaincy on Haaland from now until the World Cup, and hopefully that will put you in good stead, really. So, from my perspective, I have to say that this is a big shift. And for those that don't have Haaland and you're betting against him in the hope that Mohamed Salah is going to outscore him every week, well, it's not happening right now. I think that there is a case to possibly sell Mohamed Salah. There's definitely a case not to captain him anymore. And I know there are some FPL managers who will say, well, you've got Salah, you've got Haaland. Why have 2 expensive premiums and you're not going to captain one of them? I kind of disagree with that argument, but it's for me, it's telling that, do I really want like a 13 million pound midfielder who is struggling to score goals and even get assists? And you look at it, he's he's only got like 1 goal from the opening weekend. Is that enough for Mohamed Salah? It really isn't. And I think I mentioned it in one of the earlier streams as well, that I kind of feel that we are this season it is off peak Mohamed Salah, not because he's become a bad player overnight, but I think due to age, due to Mane not being there as well, he has to work a lot harder as well. He's not going to match his goals tally and his assist tally from last season. I'll be very shocked if he does. I think that he'll hopefully, recover from this dip. The fact he's not going to the World Cup, that's a big plus as well. But he's clearly a different player and he's not in form. And for me, form is key. Class doesn't matter, that used to be one of my mottos back in the day. And that's why I've backed him. And I also look at the 50-50 call I had at the start of the season. Do I go for Kane? Do I go for Haaland? Haaland, who isn't tested in the Premier League, against Kane, who won the Golden Boot just 2 seasons ago. The reason why I didn't go for Kane was for one reason, and it was EO. Twice the number of managers, I think it was 53% at that point, had Haaland, and like 22% or 24% had Kane. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go with Haaland, despite Kane having this generous fixture against Southampton. And I can do a sideways move if it goes wrong. And luckily, that I got that 50-50 call right. And it was why? Due to EO. And again, I don't want to bring EO into the conversation, but EO has saved me on captaincy, and it saved me on that 50-50 call, really. And obviously, you look at the eye test, he hardly touches the ball. But when he does touch it, he gets it into the right place, which is the back of the net. So I'm very grateful for him for getting the points that he has got. But mainly it's clear that Haaland is now the perma captain king for the foreseeable future in FPL. So from the Elite 1000 perspective, what I wanted to show you on my screen here, really, I'm going to show you the median team in Elite FPL, but I want to show you my team actually. So if I do a quick search for FPL hints, I should appear on screen. There we go. So you should be able to see my team on screen there, 96th. So in the live table of the Elite 1000, I'm 96th out of 1,000 managers. Now, my actual Elite 1000 rank is 431, but in the live table, I'm 96th. So by having a safe captaincy, by conforming to the template, I have overperformed with respect to the Elite 1000. So again, I'm not doing anything with magic. It's relatively straightforward picks. You're probably looking at my team there and thinking I've got the armband on Emerson. I've just thought in game week 7 I'll live a little with no games being in action. But yeah, look, from my perspective, the double up with City, to be honest with you, if game week 7 had actually gone on, I would have sold Edison. But then the problem was the goalkeeper situation. I wanted Sanchez, but then Brighton's match before the postponements got postponed anyway. So I've kind of stuck with him for at least one more game week. And yeah, the rest of it, Cancelo, Alexander, James, had Saliba, got rid of him just to unlock funds, and also Arsenal have got a harder run of games. But ultimately for myself, I look at my team and I feel that right now there are 2 moves that I need to make to avoid falling behind from the curve essentially. And I feel that like I started off with 4-4-2, then I went to 5-3-2. The reality is I should have gone for 4-3-3 or 3-4-3 early on to have an even higher rank, basically. And I can go through all these Elite 1000 teams, and I'll show you what their situation is. In fact, I'll go to the number 1 ranked team in the Elite 1000 right now. Brownism from Stephen Brown. I think I had his team up on the FPL one. So we can see here clearly he's got 4 strong at the back. There's not like 5. He's not the only double up he interestingly has is Pope and Trippier, which is a very rare double up if I'm perfectly frank. There's not many that have that double up at the moment. And obviously Pope had that monster haul in game week 6 as well. So he's well up there at the moment. But it's interesting. He's got Lingard as one of his picks, which surprised me as well. The Salah and Diaz double up, which I kind of feels that you feel that okay, if one has blanked, you'd hope the other covers for the other attacker, and then relatively template attack there with Haaland and Jesus. I feel that with him, ultimately he'll need like a third striker. Dervishoglu as the sub 3 isn't going to cut it. And I think a lot of people are going to push for Mitrovic. It's inevitable. Mitrovic, Tony, and if they're going to downsize Mohamed Salah, they'll probably go for Kane as well. So, I wouldn't call this like a template team, and I need to look into how this team has captained. I think I did have a look at it. I think he's captained Haaland a fair bit as well. But look, 51 points at the start, and I compare it with my team, 403. The team isn't a million miles different. I just don't have Lingard in the team there. My formation is almost identical to his, but that's just an example of a good, a team that's done quite well in the Elite 1000. So find the median. So the median team in the Elite 1000 is ranked around 800k. I think I've got it here. I'll do a quick screen share on how they've done as well. Just hate the fact that everything's refreshing now. Give me one moment. Here we go. Yeah, I've got him here. So he's a Norwegian guy. Well, say guy, I don't know gender, but let me stop sharing my screen. Just make sure it's the right one. And yeah, if you're on the YouTube stream, and you're thinking, what am I talking about? Just hop on to the YouTube stream. Sorry, my mind's gone. If you're on the Twitter space, hop onto the YouTube stream, because otherwise I'm just talking to a brick wall, and you've got to be patient with me. Let me get this up. Goodness me, everything's running slow today. All right, let's try and share it. I don't know why it's taking ages. Nope, that's the wrong one. Oh dear, oh dear. Come on. So I'm still new to dual streaming on Spaces and YouTube, and I'm not going to do it again. I think this is probably the last time, because I'm looking. I mentioned I've got 2 hands and I'm operating 3 platforms, so it's just hoping for the best, really. So let's just get this up. One moment. Oh, come on. Is that the right one? Yeah, I think that is the right one. There we go. Nice default. Yeah, let's get this up. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry, my apologies. So this isn't working. All right, I'm going to show you something else. So that other team, in fact, I'm just going to read it out myself. I don't know what's happening with the screen share here. So goodness me, why is it not coming up? All right, I'm going to show you something else. So I mentioned earlier on about this metric that isn't often talked about, and it's the value add when you look at the points per million, and it's FPLStatus on Twitter that has a tweet on this. Actually, it's a very simple graphic to understand, and I'm going to share it because I feel that we kind of take this for granted, and this will kind of show you why 5 at the back hasn't really worked this season, well, in this early part of the season especially, and it really quantifies it in a very simple graphic. If it can appear on screen, and it will appear very shortly. So this graphic, it's top players by VAPM, which is value added per million. And this is basically like the top players in the game right now. I'm going to just zoom in for the benefit of my YouTube audience. Just make sure it doesn't go funky. Okay, I think that's the best I can zoom in. So with this graphic, you've got the bottom axis, which is a value add per 1 million, and then you've got the points per game. And you can clearly see there, Haaland is just right up there. Like he's, despite having a very hefty price tag, he's delivering fantastic value per million. And then there's no one's even close to him. You got Ivan Toney, perhaps, Gross, perhaps, but no one's close to him. You can see him right up there in that top right corner. He's delivering well and above when it comes to the value add. So it's just further validation that if you haven't got him, get him in. Just, if you're not captaining him, definitely consider captaining him. That in itself, if you wanted me to say, perma captain option, show us some context. Well, there is the context. You've got the value add, you've got the points per game, and obviously he's not going to score hat tricks every week. I totally get that, but he's kind of an outlier there, and he's delivering probably far more than we anticipated in this early stage of the season. But what else is interesting is look at those circles. You've got like the light purple, which is goalkeepers. You've got dark green, which are defenders. Midfielders are like a dark yellow, and then you've got forwards that are in red. Now, what do you notice there? Where are the defenders? There's not a single defender in this top right quadrant. They're all back here. So all you can see here are basically strikers and midfielders. and you've got Saar and Pope anomalies. You've got Henderson just below the line. So it's clear that those that went 3-4-3 and 4-3-3 at the start of the season, they've benefited massively, especially if they had Mitrovic, Tony, and Haaland. I'm trying to find Jesus on here. There he is. Jesus is back there. Obviously, he's owned by still 3/4 of FPL managers. But for those that took the risk on Mitrovic, Tony, and Haaland, it's benefited them fantastically. Um, so this is a good takeaway early on that I'd even go as far as to say that not only does this show that the strikers have come to the fore in those initial game weeks, that I feel that this is also a reference that we can, factor in for those that are on a wild card right now, or those that have 2 free transfers to spare. If you've got Archer as your sub 3 and you're able to maneuver by downsizing one of your premium defenders, let's say you've still got Robertson, upgrade Archer to a Mitrovic, put Robertson into an Emerson, you could potentially make some traction there as well. But that graphic kind of sums up, how what the early trends are in this season. Of course, I'd expect that some of those defenders like a Cancelo, your Trents and whatnot, you probably might see some green circles in this upper right quadrant on this FPLStatus graphic, in the later part of the season. But the early narrative that we can see in play is that the strikers who kind of were non-existent last season, didn't do much, are delivering, and there are, some budget options in the form of Mitrovic and Tony that we should potentially be considering. And also, despite the early run of games where they had some mixed fixtures, Tony and Mitrovic have some really good upcoming run of games between now and the World Cup. Tony could make a case for his place in the World Cup potentially, so you'd expect him to hopefully maintain form. And then you've got Mitrovic, who is just defying the odds this season with all those calendar year goals that he's got. And if Fulham are going to score in the Premier League, it's going to be Mitrovic, right? And I'm trying to find Kane on this. There we go. Kane's right back there. So the value add isn't that good for him at the moment, but his points per game, just under 7 points. So can't complain too much with that. But yeah, Haaland, look at he's just an absolute monster. He's like 0.75 for value add per million. And he's averaging obviously 11 points per game, and you'd expect that to drop as the season continues. But I think that's something that's definitely worth factoring in for anyone who's looking to, I don't want to say break the template, but move away from a heavy set at the back, really. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So just moving on to my next segment, the world number 1 team. I think I'm going to show that because I feel that a lot of people are panicking who are concerned about their own rank. Like I've said, the median rank among the elite 1000 is like 8 to 900k, right? And for me, I personally would have been content if I was even top million at this early stage, just so that I'm not too far back. So 8 to 900k is the median in the elite 1000, and I want to show you that team, but it's just not showing for some reason. But I'll show you the world number 1 team now. Just share my screen, and just a final shout out, if you're on the Twitter space, feel free to join the YouTube stream so that you can see what I'm sharing. And if you're in the YouTube chat there, thank you very much for your questions. I will address them after this final segment. And yeah, please like and subscribe. I can't stress that enough. Really appreciate that. So just coming on to this next one. Here we go. This is the world number 1. And again, I feel that we kind of get hung up on those upper ranks early on. Some people do kind of get despondent, but I'm going to show you something. So in this case, he's gone for the double City double up. Like I've said to you, that's the one double up which has sort of worked, albeit with 3 blanks. Got Trippier, who's been very consistent. Perisic, who's had the monster haul, albeit with some blanks as well. Pope in goal. Diaz in midfield. No Mohamed Salah. Rashford and Trossard, who've provided budget returns. Again, fairly template, two strikers, Jesus and Haaland. But look, there we go, Mitrovic. He's got Mitrovic in there as well, and we know how he's done. Obviously, in this case, Martinelli, Odegaard, interestingly enough, and then got Sanchez. Cody was a bit of a left field pick, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. He's had him since game week 1, and yeah, a bit random. Obviously, he was at Wolves when the game started, and probably overpriced at 5 million. But yeah, he's got him. But it's not even that really. That you're thinking, oh, that's world number 1. You want to be like him. But do you really? You look at the chips he's used, which I'm going to get onto. Where is it? I've zoomed in so much. Here we go. Yeah, when you zoom into the screen, it just kind of you lose sight. So yeah, look, world number 1. He's broke into the world top rank from game week 6, top 50 game week 5, top 500 game week 4. But the difference is that game week 4 used the bench boost, triple captain in game week 5. So you factor that in, that's contributed to his rank. Is he going to be world number 1 at the end of the season? I highly doubt it. He's already used 2 very important chips. But then you look at game week 4 and his overall points. I can get it up. 100, yeah, 100 points, 90 points. So, in that sense, it's worked out, scoring well above the average. But I guess it's the artificial nature of the upper echelons right now, and it's artificial to such an extent that I don't really even reference the top 10k in any of my stats. It's just there's no point because a lot of those managers have used their chips, and it's kind of skewed really. Even among the Elite 1000, I've told you how even the Elite 1000 data is very biased and skewed as well, in the sense that there is a lot of affection for Mohamed Salah still, and it's even those managers, like, it's taking them time to see form. And for me, it really is about form. Who are the form players and how can you hop onto them at the right time, essentially. And I mentioned with the strikers, like with Tony and Mitrovic, and it appears to be there's still time. But yeah, look, top world number 1, relatively template team, albeit with some strange picks, but used 2 chips. So if we weren't addicts of the game, we would probably do the same as well, and we could have an even higher rank. But it's not sustainable, I guess. So yeah, don't take that to heart if you're having a challenging start, shall we say. In fact, I've made a video about if you've had a challenging start, and if if you haven't wildcarded and you've got nothing else to do, and you've got nothing to lose, this is a good opportunity to wildcard really, if you haven't already used it. So do factor that in as well. Let me just go to the chat. My apologies. Right, I've kind of waffled on, and my apologies if I've rambled on a bit. I just lost my train of thought when I realised that the YouTube stream wasn't live, and I was looking at Twitter Spaces. So I've learnt my lesson for today. I won't be doing that again. But yeah, the trends I've said basically when with not just the Elite 1000, but among like FPL content creators, it's clear the template was very strong at the start, and a state of flux has emerged. And it's now a case of, do you stay rigid with the template, or do you evolve to something that is more dynamic and has more of an upside, really? And from my team, without giving too much away, there are some risks that I'm willing to take. I still have my wild card at hand, and how I see it, I'm willing to take more risks now than I was in game week 4 or game week 5, because I know that if the risk backfires, I can tidy it up with a wild card. I'm in that privileged position at the moment, but then there's others who aren't in that position, and if they don't wild card, they can fall further back. I'd say, you know what, wild card, don't get stuck in a rut. And with it being a blank game week, again, I won't talk too much about game week 8. I'll leave that for Friday. Free hit could be an option as well, and there isn't like a rule that says you must free hit only in a double game week. I used my free hit last season, free hit one when we had the extra one, and then in the previous season, I free hitted twice in blank double game weeks, and I got 2 back-to-back top 5k ranks. So I'm not complaining, but each to their own, I guess. I'm not saying I think like to use that word optimal. Optimal time definitely is double game weeks, but I wouldn't rule it out for a blank if it meant maintaining your position or if you wanted like a rapid jump. So it's definitely worth considering as well. I'm going to come on to the questions now. So if you have any questions, feel free to send them by DM, or put them into the YouTube chat or reply to the Twitter space. Just give me one moment. Right. But I have to say at the same time, it's been fun doing a dual stream. I don't think there's anyone else that does a dual stream on FPL. I was going to say FPL Twitter, but it's a good experience nonetheless, despite the technical glitches that I've come up as well. So let me go to the questions now. So Salah, Gross. Yeah, I don't want to answer really a team question right now. Sorry. Yeah, like I've said, team question, like questions about your team and transfers. Let's save it for Friday. And FPL Bricky, thank you so much for the subscribing. Really appreciate it, mate. Thank you. Like I've said, from my perspective, I don't take any money off you. I want to help you, and if you benefit in any small way by me making mistakes on a dual stream, just subscribe. Really. And I want to say that, look, I know I haven't got any shiny graphics on my YouTube channel. I haven't got the purple, green, and blue that every other FPL content creator has. For me, that's not why I do like YouTube streams, and it's not why I create my captaincy videos. It's about being unfiltered, and it's about saying things and speaking my mind on topics that many other content creators are afraid to touch upon. And the reason why they don't talk about EO and the reason why they don't talk about the template is it's a content killer. Because even though those things will help people maintain position or attain position, it's not like, it's quite boring really. So for me, I don't care about it being boring or not. I'm just going to quantify it and say, here's the polling data, here are the EO predictions, here's the form, make your own mind up. I want to help you make informed decisions in FPL, and I want to share my thought processes, the same thought processes that I've used in getting back-to-back top 5k ranks in FPL. That's really my spiel, really. And I had no, I could have just done Twitter Spaces again for another season, but on YouTube you can just do so much more, and I feel that the audience is far more vast, and it's you're quite limited and boxed in with what you can do on Twitter Spaces. So I decided to just explore YouTube really, and it's interesting. I was really shocked actually. There's hardly any videos on EO, so I made one of the first videos I made was on what is EO. So I had to make that, and also in terms of like talking about the template and also how you can leverage the template. I've got a really good video on my channel right now where, in fact, if you go on to subscriptions, if you go to my channel, it's one of my recent videos where I talk about how you can unlock differentials by leveraging the template, and it's something that isn't talked about either, where people think like, I don't, this is a bad example right now, but Robertson and Robertson, Trent, they're very template picks, everyone's got them. No, everyone doesn't have them as a combination. So looking at things in a different angle really. And also, I only like to share things which are tried and tested. I'm not here to share wacky theories about things that are pie in the sky, what the algorithm says. No, it's really about my own thought process. That's what I'm essentially sharing in all of this. So FPL teacher, you ask, what do you think is going to be Diego Costa's price? Well, he's 5.5 million. I think he's overpriced. He's out of form. He's out of fitness. yeah, I wouldn't even consider him at this early stage. Unless he starts scoring, I just don't think I think he's past it. I think his best years were at Chelsea, if I'm being perfectly honest. What happens when Haaland is benched and blanks and Salah hauls key tasks? Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's only a matter of time when we get that sort of game week. It hasn't happened yet. Every game week that we've had, um, you've got uh, you've got Haaland essentially outscoring Mohamed Salah. I don't think people will panic sell Haaland. I mean, if you've got both, you're kind of like you're in an okay place. And I would anticipate, because Haaland's EO is so high, that you shouldn't fall back massively if you've captained him and he blanks and Salah bangs, unless it's like the Havertz Salah situation last season when Havertz blanks completely and Salah bangs in a hat trick. But I feel that that was a different situation. Salah had a high EO, he's in form. I can't. I think that possibility of Salah hauling and Haaland blanking could happen, but it shouldn't affect your EO too much, because there's been a fundamental shift of Mohamed Salah being the EO captain to Haaland, really. And since AFCON, this is an interesting stat. Salah has started 16 games, scored 9, and he's assisted 6, which isn't bad. But then I'd say that if you take away double game week 26 and you take away the brace against United last season, and then you then look at it in silo, it's not like peak Mohamed Salah, really, which is a bit of a problem. So, do you think it's better to use a wild card now or free hit for game week 8? So that's Wasim, you're asking that question. I would say it depends on your own team. If you need to make up lost ground and your team isn't right, use a wild card. If you're happy with the team, but it's just unfortunate that the Liverpool Chelsea game has decimated your options, I think free hit could be an option, but it all depends. Like, I'll give an example. I wanted to consolidate my overall rank. I think it was Boxing Day, when just before Boxing Day, they gave us an extra free hit. And obviously they're not doing that this time around. And I wouldn't have used it, but the fact they gave it randomly last season, FPL were like, oh, here you go, just an extra free hit. And everyone was livid, like, oh, how dare FPL help us, help, feeding the casuals with an extra chip. I used it relatively straight away, consolidated my rank inside the top 10k, and I never left the top 10k after that. So in that instance, it benefited me using the free hit in a blank game week. So it could be that someone is ranked 50k right now and they want to push on. It could be, it could be an option for them to use a free hit. But I wouldn't say use a free hit if you feel that you can field like 9 or 10 players with a -4. It honestly depends. But I would strongly disagree with anyone that says, oh, you must only save your free hit for the double game weeks because that's the optimal time. I would, don't say beg to differ, but you could potentially target a blank game week. So Fatal asks, why don't you just stream on YouTube? The reason why I don't just stream on YouTube is it seems like everyone is still on Twitter Spaces, and I get messages when I'm not on it saying, why are you not doing it? And I'll say it again, that if you're in Twitter Spaces right now, hop onto the YouTube stream so that you can see what's on screen as well. But yeah, it's I'll probably, from next week, I'll probably just stick to YouTube, if I'm being perfectly honest. But it's just, I wanted to do the dual stream because I know some people are just content on being on Twitter. Some are happy being on YouTube, and it's just different. I can't think of any other content creators that do a dual stream. So I just thought I'd give it a go. You need 4 mechanical arms. Yeah, I think I need that and some other mechanical bits. Cancelo is the highest of the defenders. Yes, he is, but it's not the same as last season. How would you predict EO for a particular rank tier for the next game week? I would say that doing the captaincy EO videos and looking at EO quite thoroughly on livefpl.net, it's almost easy to predict right now, in the sense that with Mohamed Salah right now. Well, I'd say like from game week 5 to 6, I predicted that after he scored the hat trick against Nottingham Forest, I was still predicting that for the Everton match, a significant minority of the Elite 1000 would still back Mohamed Salah with the armband, which they did. And I think it's a loyalty thing that they basically, a lot of the Elite 1000 are just blinded by Mohamed Salah because that he's got them all those points over the past 4 or 5 seasons in FPL, and they just can't get over that hang up really that he's out of form, because they don't look at form. Paradoxically, some of them, they look at underlying stats and minutiae data, which doesn't mean much to me. But I guess what I'm saying is that for like for the lower ranked tiers, the captaincy is always going to be split. There's dead teams in there. Then you move up top 1 million right now, it's a bit more like accurate to read. Top 100k, you can see that in that ranked tier, they are conforming to the template. And then you go to the top 10k, which the top 10k is a top 10k for a reason at this moment in time, that they simply didn't back Mohamed Salah for the captaincy. They went for Haaland. But for me, it's really that chasing pack, the top 100k, top 200, 300k, where I can kind of predict it more, because that's the rank tier I'm at right now, and you can kind of gauge the decisions they're going to make based on player ownership and the fixture, and that in itself will bring up a Neo prediction quite easily. FPL Zaha asks, is it time to bring in Son? Well, he's not shown any form, hasn't scored a goal all season. I couldn't really make a case for Son, if I'm being perfectly honest. You could make a case for Kane, Kulusevski if he's getting regular starts for Spurs, but not Son. I just can't. You need him to score. You need him to do something. It's just ironic. The Golden Boot winner from last season, and it's just not worked for him. But yeah, like I think it's mentioned in the chat there that once he does begin to score, he's definitely an option, but not right now. And I haven't deep dived into like Son's data as to why he isn't scoring. Is it a positional issue? Is it chances issue? But he's not the same player as he was last season, for want of a better word. So if you take out De Bruyne's 4 goals against Aston Villa in the double game week, then that tells another story. Salah is still the best midfielder to own. I can't say that. Salah, he's no longer a perma captain for me. I can say that. It would take a lot. If I still had Mohamed Salah between now and up until the World Cup, it would take like a good amount of form before I can begin captaining him. For me, I've moved away whether I should captain him or not to whether I should sell him or not. I think that's where the debate has shifted for me, and not just for me. I think for a lot of managers in certain rank tiers, that is it worth selling him? And I think the case can be made now that maybe in the short term you could sell him really. Liverpool's fixtures are bad, so Salah is worth selling, says FPL Prem Tipster. I agree. I think that in my case, I'm looking at this short window where the fixtures are slightly more problematic. He's got Champions League games as well. And maybe I can take a risk on selling Salah, dipping my toe in the no Salah camp. But if it backfires, let's say he scores a brace in one of those matches, got the wild card, and I can recorrect it. Some people are using the wild card to sell him. I would use a wild card if I can manage my team without him, sell him. If it doesn't work, I can then correct that. That's how I'm seeing it. If I was to wild card later on, but if I was chasing and I feel that I could get value from other players, I would sell him. But my thinking right now is I could sell him without using the wild card and then bring him in on the wild card if I needed to. So it's a case of holding off using the wild card until my rank takes somewhat of a battering. I think that's what I really hope that doesn't happen. But then I could be put in a situation where I'm making small incremental gains between game week 8 until game week 15 and I haven't used my wild card, and then it's game week 16, the final game week before the World Cup, and I might just use it like a free hit really, and yeah, rather than wasting it, I think I might be left to that. I honestly don't know when I'm going to wild card right now. I want to use it when I absolutely need to, and I don't feel this is the right time for me, my team, to use it. Like I've said, I can just about field a team for game week 8. I've got 2 free transfers, which would allow me to have 11 plus a sub 1. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Do you look at the net transfers to calculate the EO for the next game week? I don't. For me, I look at what there's actually a really good Twitter account which I'm going to mention on here, and this Twitter account shows me in real time. Where is it? Is it FPL? I don't say it wrong. Here we go. So at FPL Analytics, and what I like about this account is in real time, every hour, I can see who the top transfers in and top transfers out are. And it's almost like showing me trends in real time. So I'm not looking at net transfers in and out, but I do look at the real time data. So right now on FPL Analytics, I'm just going to just read this out. I look at Mohamed Salah, top 5. He's being sold en masse. Like in this hour, 9,000 sold Salah. Last hour, 10,000 sold Salah. The previous hour, 11,000. Mohamed Salah is being sold en masse. So I know his EO is plummeting by the hour. That's an example of how I kind of know it. And then I think that's reflective to some degree of the Elite 1000 as well, albeit at a more conservative and slower pace. But for the overall stats, I do enjoy this Twitter account, FPL Analytics, with the real time transfers in, transfers out. And I've messaged them privately to say, is there a way for you to do that by rank tier? Probably isn't, because it's all in one block, but I would strongly recommend that. If you want to look at the transfer trends in and out, check out FPL Analytics and see how the trends are on an hourly basis. But I more or less predict EO based on what the previous percentages were in certain rank tiers and the top 1000 on livefpl.net. I look at how the last game week went. I look at the next fixture and I make an educated guess. And for those who haven't watched my videos, just subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can see my captaincy videos, and I think I've more or less been right on all of my predictions, if I'm perfectly honest with you. So I'm not like 100% like correct, but I make like general projections, and they seem to be more or less right. So for me, it's quite easy to do. And for me, the reason why I do that and why I do the captaincy poll is to determine who is the EO captain. And you may not know it, but when you vote in that poll, you're essentially picking my own captain as well. So just thought I'd mention that. I'll just take a couple more questions, then I'll hang up for tonight. Are Liverpool's fixtures that bad? They've got Arsenal, City back to back. However, he scored against them both. He's also scored against Chelsea a few times as well. He has, but I think, is he going to bang a hat trick in against Arsenal and City? Probably isn't. Again, trying to go on the extreme end there. But if you want to get rid of him, it could be an opportunity. And like I've said a few moments ago, I would rather sell Mohamed Salah, and if he starts to score, get him back with my wild card as opposed to selling him on a wild card. But then there's others who are in a different situation and they can't do that. No point owning him in difficult fixtures, yeah. But the EO might not be plummeting at the same rate within particular rank tiers, says Ollie. I agree. It may not. For me, I more or less, my predictions are more or less tailored on the Elite 1000 and the top 100k. Well, not top 100k, but generally around that rank tier. But yeah, it will vary per rank tier. But for me, I'm predicting EO primarily for captaincy. That's the main thing. So my captaincy poll will more or less 90% of the times let me say this is the EO captain. I then work out the EO projections, and then obviously I validate it after the deadline when we know what the projections are. Gotta look at projections, mate. Last season's matches are irrelevant to the upcoming fixtures. City are still the best defense in the league according to FBref. Not sure if that was to me or someone else. But yeah, look at the projections. I'm going to wrap it up there. I've kind of just waffled on a fair bit, but I will say that if you're on the Twitter space right now, and if you haven't hopped onto my YouTube channel, just hop onto the link. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate if you could do that. Check out my other videos on there. I've got other stuff about, how to bounce back from a challenging start, my worst ever game week, what is EO, and also leveraging the template within FPL as well and getting differentials on this. It's different content on there apart from the live stream stuff. Um, but yeah, apologies if I'm waffling on as well. I'm just a bit annoyed about the start of the stream um, when I forgot to hit live. But yeah, that's a lesson learned. Next time, I will not be doing a dual stream. And a shout out to my Team South teammate FPL Juice in the chat. Hi mate, good to see you there. But yeah, look, I've kind of segued a fair bit. But yeah, look, I hope you've benefited in seeing some of those trends among the Elite 1000, looking at the trends at a value add perspective as well, and also some of the takeaways I've had. But yeah, look, the template appears to be evolving. Leverage it in how you see fit. And apart from that, I'll chat to you on Friday. May your arrows be green. May your mind be serene. Take care and all the best.